turning the sides and getting all the colors on one side. And once they do, I think you're going to see a different team. And for Poland, I mean, you're hoping that maybe for the Bulldogs, it's not going to be that week for Canfield.
Right, right. Well, I mean, you think about, as we've said many times, Coach Pav. I mean, that's not having him there at Canfield is huge. I mean, you have a legend who, his style. Yeah, I would have loved to play. I love Dick Engle, but I would have loved to have played the style for Coach Pav. I got more of the the negative from Dick Engle, the old school, stuff, and Coach Pav, from what I've heard, was more of a more positive. He'll lose it once in a while when he has to, but more positive for him. I would have I would have done well as well there with him.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the game, I don't want to say it loses anything significant, but it loses an element when you had Mike Pavlansky there at Canfield, of course, Tom Pavlansky at Poland, and then, of course, the Poland Bulldog Stadium, their field is Pavlansky Field. So a lot of connection there. But after 23 years at Canfield, I mean, that program was in one direction. It was solid. It was one guy that really built that. And now, the next guy stepping up, that football, that next mentality. But again, I think this is just a hiccup for Canfield. I think they're going to turn things around. And I think you're going to see a lot more competitive Cardinal team coming up here in the last 6 weeks of the season.
And what do you foresee? How do you think that they can play from what you've seen thus far of these Poland Bulldogs? They got the other Pavlansky, the younger brother there, coming from Lakeview all those years. How do you think they'll fare against this Cardinal team?
Campbell's had the upper hand for the last several years, but you look at it now, and Poland, I think, has got some players there that have really developed, maybe from playing as a second-string player last year into being in the leader roles this year. There's been some surprises. I know Vito Camaro, quarterback, has been outstanding. He's not only making plays with his arm, but you got to contain him or he'll drive a defense crazy. The offensive line has been outstanding. Tyler Canfield has done a great job leading that group up there. And what a name to have this week anyway. But Oliver McCauley at tight end, what a great asset there. A lot of teams don't use tight ends anymore, but they do, and he does a fantastic job. He's had, if I remember correctly, at least one touchdown reception so far this year, and plays both sides of the ball. They've had one young man that we are highly entertained by, David Zipolitis. He's a freshman quarterback, which at Poland it's a tough nut to crack there to become a varsity player as a freshman. And I think Coach Gessler and I, we've compared him to, and this is not to say that this is not the professional level, but it's college level. He reminds you of Johnny Manziel. He can throw the ball relatively well, but he's all over the field, and he's hard to contain as well. But defensively, they've only given up 7 points and one field goal here in 2024. So they give, and the only other points they gave up was on a pick six. So defensively, they're tough. They get the shutout last week, 19-0 over Firelands, and I know that. Again, we talk about Canfield pulling the battle of 224. I don't know if all those statistics will mean anything this Friday, but certainly Poland looks like in the first 3 weeks of the season that they could have the upper hand.
Yeah, well, that will be, interesting to see. And if it happens, what about some other teams in the area, Jim, that, maybe have grabbed you, again, thus far, this short season in week 4?
Well, I think we can go with the obvious one. Struthers they were expected to be a strong team, and they have been so far. I'm looking forward to their matchups with teams like South Range to see how they're going to fare.
Yep.
But they've been dominant so far. They've been everything they were advertised to be. You talk about Ursuline. Ursuline lost week 1 to Walsh Jesuit, but no shame in that. That was a 37-35 game with an opportunity to win that at the end.
Yeah, they fumbled the ball a couple times and once right on the goal line there.
Which I know will drive Coach Reardon nuts, but nonetheless, I think they're going to make a lot of noise coming up here in this second half. But you talk about maybe disappointments, and you saw last week Ursuline and Farrell. Had the Farrell game a couple of years ago. We went over to PE Stadium. They had just redone everything, and it was probably one of the greatest games I've ever seen.
Right.
In speed, execution, different styles, coaching chess match. It was so phenomenal. It was one of those games where even broadcasters needed a shower and a good meal afterwards because we were so tired. But,
That's awesome.
A little disappointing for Farrell this year. I was hoping that was going to end differently, and unfortunately, with the weather last week and being down 27-0, that game was called, which I'm sure nobody was happy with, considering it was just a torrential downpour last week, absolutely horrible. But yeah, I mean, some teams up and down this year, and we'll see how they get closer to the mid-season here, because of course 16 teams now make the playoffs, and so teams now that maybe wouldn't have had a shot that are going to get better at the end of the season, maybe peak at the right time, and maybe we could look at one or two surprises maybe coming up in the playoffs.
Talking about the team that I have every week, the Mineral Ridge Rams, what's your thought on them thus far?
Well, unfortunately, you lose seniors, and the challenge for any coach is to replace those seniors and try to get the same productivity out of them that you were getting out of your original starters, and it's tough. Some players don't develop as fast. Sometimes it's hard to catch up with the speed of the game, but I think it's going to be a learning process for the coaches too. What do we do with these young guys as they step in? How can we adapt the offense? How can we adapt the defense? Until they do develop to the point where we're right back to where we're going to be, and I think he will be. I think Brian Shaner's done a great job out there, and he's brought a lot of excitement to that program. You can see it in the stands on Friday night. You can hear the crowd, if you listen to the broadcast. So another team that I think is having a hiccup, and sooner or later they're going to catch on here. And I think you'll see that team in the playoffs at the end of the year. Maybe not a very high seed, but they're going to see some postseason play coming up.
Do you have any thought on those teams maybe that might do that? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, it's tough. It's tough now to see where they're going to be. And you hear that saying, well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Right. We're just going to have to watch. Right.
Yeah. It was 4 teams going into the playoffs. It was, I would say, a little easier to predict because you had those teams in the area. We knew that there was going to be Steel Valley teams in there. We knew that. That was a tough conference.
Hubbard is back right now at the moment.
What's that again?
Hubbard is back right now at the moment.
Yes. Was talking to some people there, and I'll tell you that the one thing that they're impressed with right now is that offensive line. There is some size on there, if I was a better person, I'd remember the young man's name. He's a sophomore, 6'5", 300-plus pounds.
Well, if he's that good, he'll make people know his name.
Yeah, and if he's not that good, it's still going to take you 3 seconds to run around him. So, he's going to be in the way either way. But Hubbard bouncing back after a disappointing season last year, and they're looking good. I'll be interested to see here what comes up in a couple of weeks as they make their way over to Pavlansky Field here. They're going to play Poland in Week 5, and I think that's going to be a test for both teams. But I think Hubbard has a lot to work with there, maybe and not even this year, but looking into next year. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement over there in Eagle territory.
That facility over there is beautiful. I love calling games there.
Yeah, great community. I mean, lots of support over there, and like a lot of venues here on Friday night in the Valley, it's a great place to be for a high school football game.
It is. It's one of the nicer football stadiums I've seen anywhere. It's not the biggest or anything like that, but it's just done well. And they take care of the broadcasters there. They put you in a private room. That's the way I wish it was every time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you that the way that stadium's set up, it's right in the neighborhoods, and it just gives you that great feeling on a Friday night.
Yeah.
It's such a blast, and anytime we have an opportunity to go there, we take them up on that. I think we'll have at least one game. I know Miles and Hubbard coming up here, and Mark Means and Dave Clark will have that one.
That'll be a good one. What do you think about the Penguins after 2 games?
Well, I think what happened with Villanova was expected. The first half, a little bit tough. I would say, you got a young quarterback starting there, but you know what? Bo Brungard, I covered him for 4 years at Springfield, and I don't think that there's anything that guy can't do. So I'm a little biased when it comes to him, but last week they played Valparaiso. We went to the game there, got to sit about four rows up, so you really kind of got the feel of what was going on, listen to the coaches down on the sideline. I think he's got such a grasp on that offense. And with his physical abilities, I mean, he's big, strong, fast. They got him listed at 6 foot. I'm not real sure about that one, but nonetheless, he was all over the field. Ran for 3 touchdowns, threw for 2, if I'm not mistaken, and really looked like a leader out on that field. And there was a lot of people excited. You could hear the Bo chants in the stadium. And, we may have had another number 12 like that some years ago, guy named Mark.
Yep. I remember him well. He was.
And I get hit in the head a lot. So.
I remember him well. We came in at the same time at YSU, and he was my quarterback for my All-Star game my senior year, the Ohio PA All-Star game too, that we won. So we started early winning games on the same team together. You only make it, you don't need to try hard to make it known. It was easy to expect his son was going to be any of his sons were going to be absolutely incredible football players. Having a dad like that, let's be honest, Jim, he could coach just any program in the area.
Oh, I think he's not only a phenomenal coach, he's a phenomenal person. The kind of person that will remember everybody's name, and he'll address you when he sees you. And you see that trickle down into his boys in here. Of course, Brady Brungard, the starting center for the Grove City Wolverines, they made their deep run into the playoffs, and he's back this year as well. And I often laugh because I think it's only Mark Brungard that could have kids that he could make a quarterback and a center. It just I only account that to the man above because nobody designs it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And how couldn't I? And, the way that they played last year, they lost 1 point to the eventual national champion. And I'm going to be straight up honest. No, personal love in here. They were, in my opinion, the national champion. I think they were the best team. Obviously, you go by wins and how things went. They just didn't, play well enough that they were 2 points, not good enough the night that they lost. But I think they would have won the national championship as well. They are looking like, I'll be honest with you, I see a lot of comparisons to my team that I played on at Youngstown State, 91 through 94. That's the way I feel about this team. And maybe last year's loss was that South Florida loss for YSU. That was that kick in the pants that, woke everybody up. And then, bam, 4 straight, 3 of them wins. All we needed was 1 more minute in that 92 game. We would have won that game. It's interesting to see how good they've gone.
Yeah, and you make the comparison between them and those YSU teams, and Coach DiDonato has almost that same Jim Trust demeanor, very calm, very direct, and he has a set of principles that he follows, and they have that mantra over there, and I love it, brick by brick. That's how they build the program, and that's what he's done. When I had my first game over there, they were on an 0-33 streak. And they got their first win, and that was the first step in building that program. And that wasn't that long ago. That was 2017, I believe. So not too many years ago, they were struggling, and he's just done an outstanding job. And everything that he does, he lives. Everything he preaches is what he means, and it passes down to those young men, and they buy in. And if you get an opportunity, go out and see Grove City football. Can you talk about great Saturday afternoon?
Oh, my God. What an amazing facility.
Yeah, no, not very big, but the quality is so there. You have, of course, Mark Means over there, Chris Birch doing the game, Ryan Briggs doing the PA. Again, there's a lot of personalities over there. It gives it its flavor. And there's not a Saturday that, I would turn down a game, if we're available to go see that.
I agree. Jim Craven, thank you very much, sir, for being on. It's always an honor.
Yep. Big one coming up, so very excited about that.
All right, sir. Thank you. We will talk to you next time. Matt Lipsack up next. We'll be right back, everybody.
Are you tired of settling for mediocre wings at sky-high prices? Belleria Niles has some of the best wing prices in Trumbull County, with 12 wings for $10 with over 15 flavors to choose from. Mention this show, Just Football with Matt Emsch, with your order and receive a free cheese puff until January 31st. Belleria at 602 Robbins Avenue, Niles, Ohio, 330-544-FOOD. That's 330-544-FOOD. Belleria, we sell taste one bite at a time.
Do you crave mysteries? Are you fascinated by the unexplained? Then summon your courage and plunge into the deep, dark abyss of what lurks beneath. A YouTube channel that dives into the unexplained, the supernatural, eyewitness reports, and more. The real question is, can you handle the truth? Simply search What Lurks Beneath on YouTube, if you think you're brave enough.
In the Valley, football is king, and the Mahoning Valley Federals are looking to build the 2024 roster with talent forged in this area to compete for a Tri-Point Football League championship. If you're 18 and older and looking to return to the gridiron, call General Manager John Galbraith at 330-540-1099 or visit the team on Facebook at Mahoning Valley Federals Developmental Football. The Mahoning Valley Federals, honoring the football tradition in the Valley. From high school to the pros and everything in between, you're listening to City View Sportscast, part of the iMedia One network.
And welcome back to Just Football. We're going to go right to the lines. We got my partner, Matt Lipsack, on. How you doing, Matty?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
I'm okay. Here we are, brother. Already week 4 in the high school football season. Of course, the team that we're following, the Mineral Ridge Rams, getting their first win last week after a little rough start. Your thoughts thus far?
I mean, rough start is it's a heck of a way to put it. You go into Andover and you get manhandled by the Lakers, and then you come home to Orange, a team that you mercied last year, and they hang a 50 burger on you, outscoring you 38-6 in your own house in the second half. It had to be a tough pill to swallow, and the St. Thomas Aquinas Knights were on the receiving end of probably some feelings that needed to be let out by the Mineral Ridge Rams, mostly in the form of Jacob Russell, who has 503 rushing yards on the season and 7 touchdowns through 3 games. But 24-hour rule, one no per week mentality. Right now you got a challenge ahead of you in the form of the Jacksonville.
Who do you got with you right now?
That is Alexis voicing objections about dinner. I'm not 100%. Her popsicle has been taken from her. That is the issue.
I see. That would upset me as well. They're going into week 4 with the Jackson Milton Blue Jays. What do you think about this week?
So, Jackson Milton's coming in at 2-1. They've got a couple of their skill players returning from last season. Those being the persons of Keegan White, Vincent Fay, two big producers for the season so far for them. Looks like Keegan White was the starting quarterback last week at Wyndham. Jackson Milton's first loss in the season where the Bombers beat them by 2 touchdowns, 26-14 over in Wyndham. But Keegan White, another dual threat quarterback, something that we have seen Ridge struggle with here in the early going of the season. Last week Keegan White 5 for 10 passing for 43 yards, but 20 carries, 115 yards. That's almost 6 yards a carry. Vincent Fay only had 4 carries, but he had 70 yards. So it looks like they've got a little thunder, little lightning going on over there in Jackson Milton. Should be a good test. How much has the Mineral Ridge defense learned from the first 2 games, and are we going to see any improvement from games 1 to 2 here to game 4? I mean, I'm throwing out last week because we spoke about it on the broadcast as much as there are still kids out there competing. Mineral Ridge is a different class of athlete than what they have over at St. Thomas Aquinas.
I agree, 100%. I mean, that's fair. If they're going to be doing better, they have to address the turnovers, because if not for those turnovers, they might be undefeated right now.
I mean, the turnovers certainly hurt them against Pie Valley. I mean, they did have a couple of turnovers against the Orange Lions, but I think what Orange did just in that second half, I don't know. Even though they did turn the ball over, I don't know if there was any stopping.
You know what? Now that you make that comment, I agree with you, Maddie. They were, and I have to back up and take out what I just said, everybody. So I'm going to eat it, and I am admitting I am wrong.
Mark the date and time, and somebody get his wife.
It doesn't happen often, but they did get physically manhandled at the end of both the Orange and Pie Valley games. What I see is players need to wake up, and somebody has to step up as a leader, and they need to change their mentality on defense, because if they don't, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. They're getting manhandled. They're getting physically beat up. And, you're going to have to start doing that back, and somebody's going to have to decide that it's me. If that defense is going to, help win them some games, especially in the coming weeks. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the meat of the schedule, Matt. I mean, we still got Canfield, McDonald. Oh, by the way, the last game of the year is your rival. Who's better? I heard they're not big. I was surprised. I thought last year's team, I must have been wrong again. They were big. I remember looking at their ages. They had young kids. So I don't understand why, the person I spoke to disagrees that, didn't really disagree, but just said that they didn't think that they were very big. So I don't know. We'll know when we see them in our own eyes. That's what I trust the most. But, they got some other games as well coming up, Western Reserve.
Western Reserve,
Campbell is
a
a big one. You, of course, again, you got Springfield, a program that's usually always in the playoffs. Canfield, Springfield. That's the team that they're playing. And the Red Devils of Camel, a new person to throw into the mix of the season. I think they're undefeated right now.
So give me a couple seconds. I can tell you. Come on. Got all this technology and it's great, but sometimes it just takes too long to find the information.
It does. I'm looking too at the moment.
Full schedule.
Here it is. Max Preps. Always full on Max. Oh, they're 2-1 right now. Let's see the schedule here.
They changed the way they do things on the app for Max Preps. You used to be able to click on a school on the schedule and it would take you to that school's page. Now it's just showing me like the scoreboard for a game that's 4
Well,
weeks away.
I got it. It brought me there. Camel 2-1. They have a big game this week. They're playing it's an area rivalry because Camel is right next to Lowellville. So that's who they're playing, is Lowellville, who is also 2-1 on the season. The loss this year for the Red Devils came from LeBray, 26-25. They beat St. Thomas Aquinas 48-0. That doesn't count. And Champion, so their schedule not very strong. I'm not real sure how good Lowellville is right now. Again, we'll find out when they get into the meat of their schedule. But when Mineral Ridge plays the Camel Red Devils, it's at home for the Ridge Rams. It's on October 4th at 7 p.m. That'll be here on.
That was the homecoming game, and then the next week I think is actually senior night for the Rams.
Yeah, well, I was wrong. McDonald isn't the last game. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong.
Game. It's on the road.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I was looking at Camels there. So it will be interesting to see how those two teams, handle each other. I really hope that Mineral Ridge can play like they played last year, especially away. This is a new stadium that we're going to be at. Let's see again, look at the big win for Wyndham last week, 26-14, beating Jackson Milton. Wyndham is undefeated. The Bombers are undefeated right now.
Bombers bringing it into 3-0, yeah.
Yeah, exciting. So we are going to have a good game this week. Matthew, thank you for calling in, brother.
No problem, brother. I will catch you at Jackson Milton on Friday night.
All right, we'll see everybody there. Jackson Milton Friday night. Thanks, Lipper. We will see everybody next week. Thanks for calling in. It's been a good night. See you next time.
From high school to the pros and everything in between, you're listening to City View Sportscast, part of the iMedia One network.